Imagine the scene, the roaring engines, the sea of red fans at Monza, and the man who seemed absolutely invincible. Michael Schumacher was the face of Formula One for a generation. He wasn't just a driver, he was the ultimate titan of the track, a 7-time world champion who redefined what it meant to be a professional athlete. But then the unthinkable happened. Over 10 years ago, the most famous face in racing completely vanished from the public eye. One moment he was the king of the world, and the next he was gone, hidden behind a veil of secrecy so thick that even his closest former associates struggle to get a glimpse. It is truly the ultimate mystery of the sporting world. How does a global icon just disappear? Let's take a trip down memory lane for a second. Think back to the Ferrari era. It wasn't just about the racing, it was about the brand. Michael was a global billionaire icon, a man whose name was synonymous with success. He didn't just win 7 titles, he built an empire. From his massive endorsements to his legendary technical feedback, he was the heart of the sport. He had everything: the private jets, the mansions across the globe, and a bank account that most people can't even fathom. He was the Red Baron, a man who seemed to have mastered life itself. But as we all know, everything changed on a crisp December day in 2013. Michael was skiing with his son in Maribel, a luxury resort in the French Alps. It wasn't even a high-speed race. It was a simple family outing. A small fall, a hidden rock under the snow, and a life-altering brain injury. In a single heartbeat, the man who survived 200-mile-per-hour crashes was brought down by a freak accident at walking speed. The world stood still. Fans gathered outside the hospital in Grenoble, holding vigils, praying for a miracle. But as the weeks turned into months and the months into years, the updates stopped. That's when the Corinna rule took effect. Corinna Schumacher, Michael's wife, stepped up as the ultimate guardian. She implemented an absolute media blackout that has lasted over a decade. Think about that. In the age of social media, where everyone has a camera, not a single photo of Michael has surfaced. No leaks, no secret videos, nothing. It's an incredible feat of loyalty and iron-fisted control. But why the silence? Is it out of respect for his dignity, or is the reality of his condition something the world simply couldn't handle? And then there's the question of the money. We are talking about a fortune estimated to be between $600 million and $900 million. That's enough to buy a small country. But where is that money going now? Is it being spent on a state-of-the-art home ICU? Is the family broke from the astronomical medical bills, or are they strategically liquidating assets to ensure Michael has the best care until the very end? It's a fascinating and tragic situation. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. We love hearing from the worldwide F1 community. Just think about the irony of it all. Can you imagine being one of the richest men on earth but being unable to spend a single dime of it yourself? All those millions in trophies, and yet he is confined to a private world where money is no longer a tool for joy, but a tool for survival. Rumors are swirling that the family has started selling off parts of the Schumacher empire, including private jets, luxury holiday homes in Norway, even some of his historic cars. Is this a sign that the coffers are running dry, or is Corinna simply cleaning house to protect the legacy? The silence is deafening, but the financial moves speak volumes. The story of Michael's fortune is as complex as his recovery, and the truth remains hidden. Behind every great man, there is a powerful force, and in Michael Schumacher's world, that force is his wife, Corinna. Since that tragic day in 2013, she has transformed from a supportive partner into the ultimate gatekeeper. People in the racing world and the media often refer to her as the Iron Lady, or Michael's guardian angel, and for a very good reason. She didn't just take over the household, she took over a multi-million-dollar empire while simultaneously building a fortress of privacy that no one has been able to crack. Can you even imagine the sheer mental strength required to keep the world's most hungry paparazzi at bay for over a decade? She's been the one making the impossible calls, deciding who gets to see Michael and who is cast out of the inner circle forever. It is an absolute boss move of loyalty, but it has certainly come with its fair share of controversy and whispers. Then we have the next generation, Mick and Gina Maria, who have had to grow up under the longest and heaviest shadow in sports history. Imagine being Mick Schumacher stepping into a Formula One cockpit with that legendary name plastered on your helmet. The pressure must have been absolutely suffocating. Every single time he sat down for an interview, he knew the questions about his father were coming, and every time he had to dodge them with a grace that most adults don't possess. While he fought to keep the Schumacher racing legacy alive on the track, his sister Gina Maria chose a different path. She turned to the quiet world of equestrian sports, becoming a champion in her own right. But even in the silence of the stables, the secret of their father's condition follows them. They live a life of incredible privilege, sure, but they also carry a burden of secrecy that would break most people. How do you navigate your 20s when you're guarding the biggest mystery in the sporting world? But let's talk about the money, because Michael wasn't just a driver, he was a literal gold mine. Even now, the Schumacher name is a brand that continues to generate staggering amounts of cash. Think about the Ferrari era. It wasn't just about the trophies, it was about the red caps, the personal sponsors, and the massive endorsements that are still paying out today. Michael was a pioneer in how athletes marketed themselves, turning his talent into a global business empire that functions almost like a sovereign state. Even without a single public appearance in years, the Schumacher brand remains one of the most valuable in all of sports. Before everything changed, Michael lived a life that most of us can only dream of. We are talking about Villa La Reserve in Gland, Switzerland, a lakeside mansion so luxurious and private it's essentially a high-tech castle. He had the private jets to whisk him to any racetrack or holiday spot in the world, and the freedom to enjoy his fortune at 200 miles per hour. But when the engines stopped, someone had to take over the cockpit of the family's finances. This is where the legal reality gets heavy. When the patriarch is incapacitated, managing the empire requires complex legal guardianships. Corinna had to step into the boardroom, signing the checks and navigating the shark-infested waters of international investments and property management. And let's be real, the cost of this total secrecy is astronomical. Keeping a lakeside mansion hidden from drones and long-range lenses for 10 years isn't just about closing the curtains. It involves a dedicated security detail, state-of-the-art surveillance, and a staff of specialists who are all bound by the most intense non-disclosure agreements you can imagine. The Schumacher family has spent a fortune just to keep Michael's dignity intact. But wait until you hear what they've had to sell just to keep the medical team running 24/7. The medical bills are stacking up, and even a billionaire's bank account starts to feel the burn after a decade of round-the-clock care. Is the empire starting to shrink? Follow us to the next part to see the shocking items they've put up for sale. Building on the mounting costs, the first real signs of a shifting strategy became visible when high-profile assets began hitting the market. For years, the family's private jet had been a symbol of Michael's global reach, but it was sold for a reported $35 million. Then came the news of their luxury holiday home in Norway, a place that once served as a snowy sanctuary during the peak of the Ferrari era. Being sold off too. When a billionaire starts selling their favorite retreats and modes of transport, the world naturally starts to whisper. Is the well finally running dry? Or is Corinna simply acknowledging that the life they once lived, the one of jet-setting between continents, is a chapter that has permanently closed? These sales represent a somber transition from a life of high-speed movement to one of stationary survival. The financial pressure is easy to understand when you look at the price tag of Michael's daily existence. Keeping a human being stable in a state-of-the-art medical environment isn't just expensive, it's a logistical mountain. Reports suggest that the weekly cost for Michael's care ranges between $140,000 and $160,000. Think about that for a second. In a single month, the family might spend over $500,000 on specialized nurses, therapists, and high-tech equipment. It is effectively a private hospital functioning within the walls of their Swiss mansion. This isn't just basic care, it's a round-the-clock battle for a recovery that many experts deemed impossible years ago. Every day is a gamble with a price tag that would bankrupt almost anyone else. As the mansion gates remained closed, friction between the inner circle and those on the outside began to spark. One of the most vocal critics has been Willy Weber, the man who managed Michael's career for his most legendary years. He has publicly lamented being cut out of Michael's life, claiming that Corinna has used her iron-fisted control to block him from visiting. Weber's pain is palpable, and his accusations painted a picture of a family that has become an isolated island. He stated he had been grieving for years because he was denied the chance to say goodbye or offer support. This highlights the brutal reality of the Corinna rule. It doesn't just keep the paparazzi out, it keeps the past out too. To protect Michael's dignity, she has had to make enemies of former allies. The hunger for news led to a disgraceful moment in journalism when a German magazine published an exclusive interview with Michael that was entirely generated by artificial intelligence. The backlash from the global community was immediate. For a family spending millions to protect the truth, seeing a computer program mimic the thoughts of their patriarch was a slap in the face. The legal response was swift, resulting in a massive settlement and the firing of the magazine's editor. This incident served as a grim reminder of why the wall of silence exists. If the media is willing to fabricate a ghost, why would the family ever trust them with the real man? It is a sad state of affairs when technology is used to exploit tragedy instead of honoring a hero. Among the fans, the Keep Fighting Michael movement remains powerful, but there is a growing divide. Some believe the family owes the public a glimpse of the man, while others defend their right to absolute privacy. Rumors occasionally flicker through the darkness. Stories of Michael being taken to Paris for experimental stem cell treatments, or whispers that he might attend his daughter Gina Maria's wedding in the future. These rumors are the fuel that keeps the legend alive, suggesting that behind those mansion walls, Michael is still fighting the longest race of his life. We all want to believe in a miracle, don't we? Ultimately, the Schumacher story is a poignant cautionary tale about the limits of wealth. Money can build a fortress and hire a private army of doctors, but it cannot buy back the simple freedom of a walk in the sun. Looking at the legacy of the greatest driver ever, we have to ask ourselves, would you trade it all? Would you take the 7 titles and the billions if it meant a decade of silence? It makes you realize that health and time are the only true currencies that matter. Would you trade all that fortune for one last interview with the GOAT? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Keep fighting, Michael.